Section 3.5, going to look at two problems similar to what you'll have in your homework. The first one is they're going to give you the fact that you're investing $10,000. They tell you that it takes 12 years for that money to double. They want you to figure out what the annual percentage rate is, and then they want you to find out how much you're going to have after 10 years. And then the other one is you're given carbon-14. They tell you it has a half-life of 5,715 years. You have 3 grams initially, and then you want to find out how much you have after 1,000 years. Alright, so looking at the first one, giving us the interest rate, giving us the number of time it takes to double. My guess is in the story problem, I just didn't have it written down. It says something about compounding continuously, so I know that I want to use the A equals PERT equation. If it said that you were compounding monthly or weekly or something like that, then of course you'd have to use the other formula, which is this. So you want to make sure that you're clear on which one it says. This one's supposed to say compounding continuously. I just didn't write it down. Alright, so I know what formula to use. Now I'm going to try to figure out my information. Well, I know I'm investing $10,000. That is what P is. So that will never change in the setup. I know it takes 12 years for the time to double, or for the amount of money to double. So if I put 12 in for T, don't know the interest rate yet, I would end up with $20,000 because I started with 10 and they want that to double. And so, solving an exponential equation like we did in the last section, I want to get this by itself, so divide both sides by 10,000, and it's going to give me 2 is equal to e to the 12-hour power. Now, like we mentioned in class, they want you to find out how long it takes, or they're telling you it takes 12 years for it to double. That's not a coincidence, that's a 2. If it took 12 years for it to triple and I did this, it should be a 3. So not a coincidence that that was going to happen. Going to have to take the natural log of both sides, because my goal is to get that r out of the exponent. That's going to give me the natural log of 2 is equal to 12r times the natural log of e, which by now we've said that we know that that equals 1. So now I can take and divide both sides by 12. Now, make sure that when you type this in your calculator, it's not the natural log of 2 divided by 12, it's the natural log of 2 then divided by 12. So again, be careful when you're entering in. It's why I always type in and hit enter when I find the natural log of whatever first, then divide by 12. And so it tells us that it's going to be approximately 0.05776. And so when you're giving an actual percentage rate, you're going to want to change this into a percentage. So they would say that it's 5.776%. I'm guessing they don't round that far, but that's fine. So there's my percentage rate. Now to answer the amount that I'm going to have left after 10 years, I'm going to use the same setup. Again, the A equals PERT. The 10,000, that is my initial amount. That will never change. I'm trying to find an amount, so I don't know what A is. The interest rate, that's not changing. Remember that this has to be a decimal. Yes, it's a decimal, but it's a percentage. So you want to go back to that. You want to use 0.05776 times, it wants to know how much you have after 10 years. So times 10. Oops, forgot the E in there. And now I just have to type that in my calculator. Again, if it's me, yes, you should be able to type that all in, but I always do one thing at a time. I'm going to do E to the power of 0.05776 times 10. Obviously, if I had thought about that, I probably wouldn't need to do that. I could just move the decimal place over. But anyway, there's what that is. And then showing me work, please write that down. If that number is way off, then I'm going to kind of guess and check to see what you did, but it helps if I can see that number. You don't need to write the whole thing out like it's 1.78, blah, 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 and you should be accurate, so you should. If you do 1.78 and then do dot, 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 that tells me that you're using the entire decimal, so I will know that you're using it. If you say 178 and then stop and just parenthesis, I'm assuming that you've rounded to 1.78. So please do that if you can. This will be more accurate. And then, of course, I'm going to multiply by 10,000, hit enter, and the amount of money that I'll have left after 10 years will be $17,817, and this is money, so 2 decimal places would make sense, and 57 cents. And there is your answer. So again, like I said, if you want to keep that as an entire thing, that would be great. You can always put that in up here. It'll change that answer slightly, but like I said, it's fine. I'm going to look at what you have written there. Notice that that's rounded. I'm assuming that you're using that. When I see the dot, 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 then I'm assuming that you're using the actual number on your calculator. You just didn't want to write the whole thing out to save time, and that's fine.